Elke, where are you from originally?
I was born and raised in East Germany.
East Germany. So it was East Germany when you were born?
It was, well, at that time, the Second World War was on when I was born. It was January 1942. A Russian, how do you say?
Under Russian territorial control.
Right, and so we had to live under communism.
Yeah.
And the first thing they did, they confiscated our lands and made collective farms out of it.
Wow.
And so then, of course, they took over. We had nationalized health care. That was in Germany anyway, kind of going on.
Hitler started that.
Yes, and no more private businesses. Everything was run by the government, the banks, the healthcare system.
What a service for the officials, and they let you get by with what you were doing.
Because they wanted those goods.
Yes, of course.
See, they still, the thing is, the common people they had to give up everything, and the ones that were in power, they still lived very well.
Yeah.
And another thing they did, they confiscated the guns. And I had it happen in my family. A second cousin of mine, he was trying to hide some of the guns in the backyard, and somebody saw it, and they turned him in, and he had to go to prison for 5 years.
For trying to keep a gun.
Right. So this is what that's what happens under communism. They take your land, they stop all private businesses, they turn it all into government-run businesses. They confiscate your guns, and you have to think, and that's what we were taught in school. They drummed it into us that communism is the way to live, that's the utopia.
I know in Russia,
not that I remember, but my parents left first, and I stayed on with my grandparents in East Germany. And then my grandmother said, I had a visa to go to West Germany. And she says, you gotta leave because they're gonna come and they're going to take you away, and they're really going to indoctrinate you and make a communist out of you. But all I can say, communism doesn't work. They take God out of everything. Communism is anti-God.
Communism is the state, and if you have God, you serve a higher power than the state.
And that's not going to work for them. So they took God out. So there were no churches. On Sunday mornings, they gathered us up and took us in trucks out to the collective farms, and we had to work out there. There was no church service, so we grew up without religious training. And
it was just a few years before you were born that Hitler outlawed religious training in school, and in one day in the 1930s, boom, it was gone.
It was gone. So.
Water here is down 75% since 1950, and within the next 40 years it'll be cut in half again. Game up. Population increase in the Arab states are higher than the world average. If population keeps increasing, less water, therefore no crops. So it's sort of a perfect storm, and what has to happen is that women have to be given contraceptives whenever where they can get them. So it's estimated that 200 million women were given free contraceptives. Then it would stop about 80 million unintended pregnancies, and that would bring world population growth to a halt. It wouldn't reduce it, it would bring it to a halt, but that's the start. Other than that, that's the humane way of doing it. Other than that, you can stand by for natural phenomena like famine, plague, war.
Families who protect their kids by giving them bottled water instead of water from the tap could actually be hurting their teeth. Most tap water contains fluoride, which not only helps strengthen the teeth, but also helps prevent or slow down tooth decay. Since bottled water isn't regulated, it's hard to tell how much fluoride it has. Earlier today, we spoke with a Seattle dentist who explained why kids could be at risk.
If kids drink only bottled water and that's their only source of water and they have no other exposure to fluoride, then absolutely we're seeing a higher amount of dental decay in these children that are not exposed to tap water or any other external sources of fluoride.
Bottled water does have fluoride, but at a much lower concentration, so without checking with the manufacturer, you never know how much you're getting. Experts consider the addition of fluoride to water one of the top 10 health measures in the last century.
Yes, folks, one of the greatest achievements of man was putting and dumping toxic waste from aluminum manufacturing companies in your water supply. I mean, besides creating an atomic bomb and then dropping them on a bunch of innocent people over a school. I have a picture. I'm looking at it right now in my house when I was in Japan, in Hiroshima, and it was over a school that they dropped it. So it just, that was another accomplishment too. So this is GGN, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com, and ddarko2012, ddarko2013 are my YouTube channels. Okay, so obviously you can see the theme for this last video is going to be eugenics, social engineering, population reduction, control, and all the other stuff in between. Gene tests may bring safe chemotherapy, says the doctors. Doctors are hailing the breakthrough for breast cancer patients. Basically, eugenics victims is what they are. And it says here, doctors have discovered a way of identifying breast cancer patients likely to suffer life-threatening side effects from chemotherapy. The research could eventually lead to safer treatments adapted to individual patients. One of the doctors said, we found that genetic variations in one gene was highly correlated with chemotherapy side effects. So it's not so much the radiation that's, causing this, or the drugs that's causing this. Let's look at this. It's your genes that's causing, so, you're genetically inferior. So it says here, new study, radiation treatments create cancer cells 30 times more potent than regular cancerous cells. But let's not forget this article too from January 19th, 2012. Cancer drugs make tumors more aggressive and deadly. Researchers are finding, it turns out, that while chemotherapies may kill or shrink tumors in the short term, they may actually be causing these malignancies to grow more deadly in the long term. Then next up, fetal body parts used for research, and if you're eating, you may want to put that to the side till the end of this video. It says here, is it ethical to experiment on aborted humans? And it says here, it is also the hidden side of medical research, massive industry harvesting pieces of dead children for experiments or transplanting into humans. They discovered the University of Auckland has imported body parts from American babies for a research project and asked some hard questions. Says here, this may be the first research of its kind in New Zealand, and I'm sure the public are quite unaware of it. To make matters doubly embarrassing for authorities, the trafficking was taking place inside abortion clinics run by Planned Parenthood, the U.S. affiliate of New Zealand's family planning organization. Moving on next, parents pay for teenage plastic surgery, prompting call to ban anyone under 21 from invasive procedures. Girls as young as 16 are getting breast implants to boost their self-esteem. In some cases, parents are financing their child's vanity, while other girls are taking out loans to cover the expenses. Then next up, we have neurosurgeon issues public challenge to vaccine zealots. Inject yourselves with all the shots you say your children should get. This is Dr. Russell Blaylock, neurosurgeon, an expert on excitotoxins, i.e. MSG. And there will be links posted in YouTube's video description, and there's a link here in this article. You can go watch the video with the interview between the doctor and Mike Adams. Next up, we have Aussie boys need HPV vaccinations as the experts. Gardasil introduced for girls in 2007. Government okays treatment for boys, but not until 2013. Damn it. Says here, Australia must act quickly to vaccinate schoolboys against human papillomavirus. And the one for the girls, it doesn't even actually do what it's supposed to do, which is to prevent cervical cancer. And last time I checked, I don't think males have cervixes, but hey, I don't know. It says here, Australian children should be sterilized without parental consent under new eugenics law. So the Australians, they were proud. They said they were the first country to introduce the Gardasil vaccine free to girls aged 12 to 13. It is yet to recommend a similar program for boys, so bad Australians. But they are also going to be possibly the first country to allow children to be sterilized without parental consent under a new eugenics law. I've covered this before from March 8th, 2012. Go in there and check it out. But it ties it into the rest of these articles. Monsanto biotechnology book for kids caught brainwashing children, says facing direct opposition from the public. Biotechnology giants like Monsanto and Dow are now making a disturbing attempt to brainwash developing minds into accepting their genetically modified foods. And it goes on here, it says they launched a biotechnology basics activity book for kids with the intent to be used by agricultural and science teachers. The activity book spreads absurd lies about GMO crops, even going as far as to say they improve our health and help the environment. Next up, we have children are too sleepy for school as 3/4 get less than 7 hours of sleep. And they go on and they say that it's so little at night that they cannot concentrate in class, the experts say. And it goes on and it attributes it to what? Blame letting children keep their computer games, mobile phones, and TVs in their bedroom. And they go on there and they basically blame the obesity, which is from high fructose corn syrup, all the stuff that's in their food and that, on being sleep deprived, the behavioral problems, which, you know, could be due to what? Neurological damage from vaccinations. They're being brainwashed and they don't like it. And they're unhappy, and that's due to being sleep deprived. So there's different reasons for it. But it goes on and says here, addicted.com, people would rather give up alcohol, showers, or sex than go without the web. So it just goes to show you that it's not just them that are addicted to it. It's everybody. I mean, this is a technology that came very, 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 very fast. And the people that brought it to us knew the outcome, and now they're just kind of studying us. Because, you know, the world is their laboratory and we're the lab rats. Another reason, too, is this. Cell phone radiation may cause ADHD in developing fetuses. So if it can cause ADHD in developing fetuses, and remember I mentioned in the last set of videos from Wednesday, the scientists and basically worked for the UK, the British government, and studying microwaves technology. And remember I mentioned it was in Africa, they did a study and they found that prior to these cell towers coming to the area near the school, there was 0% ADHD. After the towers came in, 100%, and they were all on medication. In other words, they couldn't focus, they couldn't concentrate. He used the words, it excites their brain. Number of school children classified as being autistic soars by 56% in 5 years. And it goes on, it says ADHD diagnosis in children up 66%. And look at this. Remember this from March 13th? Conflicts of interest plague the next International Manual of Mental Disorders. And it says because the industry relationships can create a pro-industry habit of thought. I wonder what kind of industry that is. The pharmaceutical one? Childhood poisoning by medication on the rise. Then we have record high overdoses shine light on alarming suburban addiction. More than 170,000 children between 12 and 17 will be offered heroin this year. Of those, 34,000 will try it. 8,500 will become addicts. So this is, of course, the drugs that the drug cartels and the banks and the governments deal in, which are, quote, illegal. But the legal drugs, the pharmaceuticals, they're up as well, too, as far as ADHD and all those other types of disorders. Australia may declare homeopathy baseless and unethical, so they may be the first country to do that as well. Australia's National Health and Medical Research Council decided their practice may be ineffective and unethical, saying it's unethical for health practitioners to treat patients using homeopathy because a homeopathic medicine or procedure has apparently been shown to be ineffective. Fertility company targets gay men as sperm donors. Goes on and says, Australia is to launch an advertising campaign encouraging gay men to become sperm donors and promoting its services to same lesbian couples looking to have children. The campaign asked for healthy, intelligent, and generous donors. So this is about getting people to go to a centralized location and see who their next child is going to be, i.e. eugenics. Priests who denied communion to lesbian stripped of priestly faculties. The Maryland priest who denied communion to a lesbian at her mother's funeral is being placed on administrative leave, meaning he will not be able to exercise his faculties according to a letter from the Archdiocese. Madonna takes on Russian Orthodox Church over gay rights, has squared off against Russia's Orthodox Church in gay rights dispute. And what? It's not gay rights, it's human rights, Clinton says. So the Kabbalist, also known as Esther, is always known for pushing the envelope. Madonna's new clip, Girl Gone Wild, features multiple male dancers wearing tights or mantyhose surrounding her in saucy scenes. She slammed a new law in the Russian city banning the propaganda of homosexuality and pedophilia among minors. Remember this story? Student guilty of hate crimes for spying on gay roommate, husband and wife to be removed from official documents. And then Ben & Jerry's supports gay marriage with their new ice cream, Apple Eye Ever After. And if you're gay, that's fine. I'm just putting it out there for population control measures because it's eugenics, pregnant and healed. How stars hide their baby bumps. So you got to hide being pregnant. You should be ashamed. You got to get back to getting those nice narrow hips. Get back to the part. Mother left her 16-month-old baby alone while she partied for 5 days a night. And her mother slashes her children's throats and sets her home ablaze. This is GGN. I'm Darko. God bless.